Okay, so if everything is going well here, I'll be streaming this up to YouTube, and then what I'll do is I'll embed this in an announcement for you. And what we're going to do here, let me do a couple things. Let me show you my screen. So here comes the screen, and I'm using VMware. Has anybody ever used VMware before? Virtualization software? One person. All right. So just a quick plug-in, and we'll play with it later on in the semester, but a quick plug-in for VMware and virtualization environments. This gives you a safe environment to experiment. You can experiment with other operating systems, such as Windows Server 2012, Server 2016, Ubuntu, Linux, right? Any of the Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Red Hat, so on and so forth. You can even get OS X running in here, Mac OS. It takes a little bit more hacking together of things, but you can kind of get that up and playing with. It's also a safe environment, for the most part, as long as it's not connected to a network when you do it, to experiment with viruses. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is a virus database out there. It's an archive of all the viruses that have ever hit. So what you can do is you can download those viruses inside of the VMware and release them so you can see what happens, what the virus actually does, and begin to study it. So there's some neat things that you can do there. If you're interested in just general testing, so those of you that are interested in information technology, you're going to be an agent of change in an organization. And as an agent of change, you're going to promote change because that's good, making sure you're staying on the cutting edge. But in a business environment where we have thousands of computers to worry about. For example, in this campus, we have about 1,700 Windows computers that they have to worry about. All of those have different requirements to connect to our domain. We don't move as fast as you do in your personal lives. Your personal lives, something breaks, you just kind of fix it and you move on, right? In the enterprise, software costs a lot of money. So in order to save, sometimes we're behind. So we just rolled out Windows 10 last year. Last fall was the first year that we fully rolled out Windows 10 across campus. Before that was Windows 7, right? So this gives you a clean, safe environment to be able to test your overall enterprise. All of my software packages, all of my operating systems going to play nice with my enterprise network, with my enterprise connectivity. So VMware is free to you. I realized this morning as I was thinking about everything I was going to do that I have not issued, I'm not a victim. I have not issued to you access to the Microsoft Academic Alliance web store of ours, which gives you all this software free. You get all Microsoft software for free. You get VMware for free. You get like $100,000 worth of software for free if you choose to download it all, which I have some people that are software hoarders. Feel free to download it all. You can keep it all, okay? So look for that email maybe later today or into tomorrow. But today what I want to do is I want to go ahead and get started here. I want to show you what you need and how to install our development environment, all right? So a couple different words to put up here, development environment. I can't stress the importance of taking the time to understand your development environment. We are going to develop using Java. All right, that's going to be our language that we're going to translate our programs into. There's another really big one out there, Python. That's another really big one. And you can use Eclipse. That is what we're going to use today is Eclipse. You can use Eclipse to develop Python, but there's a lot of other nice editors out there. So what are some of the different tools that are necessary? So what are our required tools? We need the language. All right. There are a few languages that will be pre-installed on an operating system, but they're few and far between, especially when you start looking at home editions of operating systems. Even Ubuntu, if you download the desktop version, there's a couple different desktop versions. There's the developer desktop, and then there's the consumer. And the developer installs a whole bunch of these languages. So we need to make sure that we download the language in which we are going to develop in, which is going to be Java. And we're going to download the JDK. Anybody know what JDK stands for? Java Developer Kit, absolutely. Okay? Many of you might be, but Mike, I already have Java installed on my computer. Okay, that's great, but if you don't know you specifically downloaded the JDK, you probably have the JRE installed. That's the Java Runtime Environment, okay? And then we also need a IDE. Anybody know what IDE is? You got it on? Peyton, what you got? Development environment, yep, we got that. It's integrated development environment. All right, integrated development environment. And we're going to use Eclipse. Those of you that have used NetBeans before, Eclipse is the framework for NetBeans. So Eclipse is going to feel very familiar. Everything that you're going to use at this institute is going to be professional tools. These will be the exact same tools, the exact same languages that you're going to find when you graduate and you start doing development. All right? That whole Scratch, and there's another one out there that you might have played with before, Scratch and Alice and some of those. Those are a thing of the past here. Those were to get you intrigued. Now we're going to start using professional grade tools. So language, Java, we're going to download the JDK. Then we need the IDE, Eclipse. And then I want to say, or other syntax highlighting text editor. Now I'm going to split this out. This is for all platforms. What's a platform? You can give me an example if you want. What's a platform? A platform is the operating system that we're using. All right? So for Windows, you can download Java and Eclipse. If you have Mac OS, Java and Eclipse. Any Linux users? You can download Java and Eclipse. All right? When you start looking at the other syntax highlighting editors, there's a few out there. For Windows, I like Notepad++. It's free. Everything I'm putting up here is free. I like Notepad++. It syntax highlights a variety of languages. You can do Python, you can do PHP, HTML, CSS, Java, JavaScript. The list goes on and on and on and on. And by the way, I'm only going to list like a couple, and then you can go out and explore others. Some of them are paid. You just want to, you're going to spend a lot of time with this, so you want to make your environment nice and comfy, including your keyboard and your mouse and stuff like that. Those are in displays. So for Mac OS, I use Text Wrangler. And then for all other, and I think for all platforms, there's one called Atom. Atom is another one out there. Now again, there are a lot of other text editors that are syntax highlighting out there that do cost money, and oftentimes they just have different plugins and stuff. So you have to decide, how comfortable you are with some of these different tools that are available to you. In addition, you want to get yourself in a comfortable environment to program. Give yourself plenty of space. Notice that there's 2 monitors in here. Like the 2 monitors, it's going to cost you about $100 to upgrade your computer, any of your computers, to have 2 monitors. Sometimes it can be free. You just ask around. And while it might not be a widescreen, at least it's another monitor. So why would you use two monitors? On one monitor, you have all your code. On the other monitor, you have everything else. Maybe it's the execution of the code, so on and so forth. Remember, you're in an environment where you got a lot of things going on. Keyboard and mice are also nice. If you are a PC gamer, you know the value of having a nice keyboard and a mouse. If you already have a nice keyboard and a mouse because you're a gamer, start using it in programming macros and shortcuts for your programming environment, right? To take all that tedious stuff out, right? So let's, you don't have to do this with me, just kind of watch because I'm recording everything. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to download the Java JDK. So I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to type in Java JDK. And right off the top is my top hit is going to be the Java SE. SE stands for Standard Edition Development Kit 8. And I want to click on that. And we're going to notice that it's going to list all of the different Standard Edition developer kits. Now also note that there is an EE. All right, the EE stands for Enterprise Edition. All right. Now, you'll notice here's Linux. I heard some people say Linux, but notice that this is Linux for ARM processors. Where do we find ARM processors? Anybody own an ARM processor? Anybody own one of these? Doesn't have to be an iPhone. Got an Android? Hold up your Android. Guess what's identical between my iPhone and your Android? The processor. They're all made by ARM. So is the memory, so is a lot of the other stuff that's on the inside of these, right? So if you don't know, if you have an ARM, you probably know. The other are the Linux. Now I want to quickly explain to you the difference in the terminology between x86 and x64. Yeah, but I'll say, does anybody know? What do you got?
Isn't 86 32-bit and 64 64-bit?
Correct, right? So x86 is a 32-bit architecture. And this goes back to CPUs, right? x64 is a 64-bit version. Now, what's the primary difference between 32-bit and 64-bit? Why does it matter if a CPU is 32-bit or 64-bit? What do you got? You're on the right track, but remove the word calculation because it can calculate much more than a number higher than 4 billion. At least you didn't say speed because it actually has nothing to do with speed. What it actually comes down to, the biggest thing it comes down to was that enterprise needed to be able to store things in memory, more things in memory. And with an x86, the 32-bit, the physical limitation was 4 billion addressable spaces, right? Now we'll get into this later, but memory, every single cell in memory has an address. That's that whole logical naming thing, right? So it had an address. So you can only store 4 billion, that's about 4 gigs, right? Now we did some virtualization of that, and we were able to get it up to 8 or 16 gigs, but today's environment is much more demanding. Many of the big servers that you hit all the time, they have up to a terabyte of memory on them. Think about that. That's 1,000 gigabytes, right? And to do that, we weren't able to visualize it with an x86, so the x64, the 64-bit was important, right? A little bit of history, x86, that's the number that Intel gave to the architecture when they designed it a long time ago, and it's just kind of stuck. It's an x86 architecture, all right? So we are going to download, if you don't know, you always download the 32-bit. But for the most everybody in here, I can't even imagine that you don't have a 64-bit. We'll click on the 64-bit. And make sure you accept, or they don't let you move forward. So I'm going to download the x64. I'll let that finish downloading. And while that's downloading, we're going to download the other piece, which is Eclipse. So to find Eclipse, we're going to go to eclipse.org. It's the Eclipse Foundation. A little plug for OSS and these foundations. Anybody know what OSS is? Or FOSS? What do you think, Roland? What do you think, Ty? OSS, FOSS. Nope. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with this foundation here in front of us. So OSS is open source software. FOSS is free open source software. They're very similar, right? Open source software is a community of developers that have come together and for the greater good of humanity have decided to collaborate on an endeavor. For example, Linux, one of the most distributed operating systems on the planet. It's in your microwaves, it's in your smart TVs, it's in your Blu-ray players. Heck, a lot of your gaming consoles have Linux as an underpinning for that open source software, right? Mac OS, underpinning, open source software, all right? Eclipse is one of them. They give it away for free, but they have a foundation. There's the Apache Foundation as well. All right? There's a lot of other different foundations and a lot of different licensing that go with this. But as developers, you should try to find a project, an open source project, as you move forward to work on, because it's a very good resume booster. All right? So Eclipse Foundation, we're going to come here. I'll say no, and I want to click on download. It should automatically detect what you're on. Are you on Windows? Are you Mac OS? Are you on Linux? What are you on? If you're on Linux, by the way, it should already be on there. If you choose the developer side of things, it should already be on there for you. It'll configure everything. So you're going to click on download 64-bit. Notice how it automatically detected that I'm on a 64-bit machine. I'm going to click on download. Anybody know what that SHA-512 was? Did you notice that? What is it? Don't say encryption. Just say it's a hashing function. Yep. So what's a hash? A hash is a fingerprint. Man, I'm just throwing all kinds of good information at you, right? A hash. S-H-A, that was SHA-512, right? That is a hash. A hash is a fingerprint. Okay, it's a fingerprint for a piece of information. It could be your password. We hash our password. It could be your username. It could be a file. All right? It could be any of that. And what it does is it generates a unique fixed length string that is quickly identified and near impossible to reverse. Meaning whatever the original content was, because it's a fingerprint, we have no idea what the original content was. All right? So that's what a hash is. It generates a fingerprint for us to identify that what we've downloaded is in fact what we thought. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to install the JDK. So second, we're going to install the JDK. You can just kind of walk through and do be careful. Every once in a while, Oracle and Java insert a little piece of, not adware, but you know, it's like that, oh, here's a free thing for you. Every once in a while they do that, but they haven't done it in a while. But do be careful if you don't want it. You have to install that first. Next, you're going to install Eclipse. If you have your own computer, hopefully you're following along. You're more than welcome to follow along as we're doing this. Okay, once that's installed, then we're going to load Eclipse. Now, the Eclipse that we have installed in here is going to be slightly different, I do believe. Let me see here. They came out with a new edition. They come out with a new edition about every 6 months, and it's next to impossible. So what I do in the classroom with my computer may look slightly different than what you're going to do at work or at home. There we go. Wonder what happened. Yep.
So I'm downloading the IDE for Java developers.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you want the ID. So once you get it up, it's going to ask you, what version do you want? Do take a minute and look through. We do want the Eclipse IDE for Java developers, as Roland said, but notice that there's an IDE for Java EE. That's the Enterprise Edition developers. There's also a C++ edition. There's a JavaScript and Web Developers edition. There's a PHP. There's a for committers, that's using like Git and stuff like that. And the list just kind of goes on and on. There's all of these different tools that are out here. You got to kind of stop and think about this. You got a foundation and a group of developers that are so committed that they're creating tools for us to use. It's thousands of people that are contributing to this. This is a big deal. If you're like, well, this isn't what I want to do as a computer scientist, kind of sort of is, right? Kind of sort of is. There's a huge group of individuals out there that's supporting all this. And the nice thing is, it's just getting better and better. All right, so this shouldn't take too long. Okay, I'll accept all those licensing agreements. The problem's going to be, I think maybe I got an error thrown at me and I just ignored it with my Eclipse on my desktop. So we may not be able to go any further than this. I'm going to have to look and see. Java was started, but it returned an error. Let's see what happens. See if it starts on your computer real quick for me. Eclipse is this little purple button. Go and launch it. Find it on your desktop and launch it. See if it launches for me. Oh, that's my desktop. You just move my screen out of the way. Double click on that. See if it throws an error at you. Did you ever get thrown at you as well? That's an installation issue with the way that Eclipse packages things now. You won't have this problem at home, all right? When you're done, you're going to click on Launch. Now, I'm going to continue going, but unfortunately, you can't do with me, all right? You're going to have to do it at home because your assignment, which is going to be due tomorrow night by 11:59, is to set up your development environment on your own computer and do your first program, okay? So I explained all of this. I show you how to set up your development environment. Now I'm going to show you, unfortunately you can't do this with me, I'm going to show you how to create your own first program in Java. All right? It's going to be real easy. So you're going to click on Launch, and it's going to ask you, where do you want to put your workspace? I recommend that you put your workspace on your desktop. All right? So you're going to come in, you click on Desktop, say New Folder, and I want to say Java Progs, and I want to call this 904 because you're my 904 section, right? If you are comfortable with remembering where you place your environment, your folder, that's fine. Put it wherever you want. All right. But what we have created here is we started a hierarchy. So I created a folder called Java Progs 904. This is my workspace. So this is the hierarchy of how things are set up. This is my workspace. Inside of my workspace goes various projects. So these are projects. And then I'm going to put a slash programs. And then inside of my project, my hello world, go my files for the project. Now typically, we're only going to work with one file, but inside of that folder, you're going to find multiple files. All right? There are environment variables for the IDE. There's all kinds of other data that are going to be in there. So when you turn in your programs in the future, you're going to turn in your project folder, not just a specific file. All right? So we created our workspace on the desktop. Now this is the IDE. Get the welcome. You can close that off. And I'm going to explain everything to you, and if you have questions, just ask me. Over on the left-hand side is my Package Explorer. That's where my projects are going to show up, is on the left-hand side. As I create new programs, new discrete programs are going to show up on that left-hand side. All right? My code is going to show up in this window, this center window. And by the way, it's an integrated development environment. It's your environment. We are all unique individuals. So you can rearrange your environment however you want. You can change the colors of the backgrounds. You can change the color of the text. You can move the windows wherever you want. You can break them out of that inside and put them on different places on your screen if you want. All right? So keep that in mind. But right now, just kind of go slow with it. Don't go nuts. Because otherwise, the best thing to do is uninstall it and reinstall it. All right? So the next thing that I want you to do after you've installed this is pause me right now, if you're watching this video, playing it back, and I want you to start looking through all of the different items, the menu items that we can do. Okay? And kind of look at the toolbar and hover over everything and see what all we can do. All right, so here's like a run, coverage. A lot of these, you're not going to have a clue what they mean. That's okay. This is our first time using this. The first time you used Word, you didn't do all the fancy things like mail merge and reference checks and grammar check and all of that. You just started typing some basic text. I want you to view this as much the same way. This is to help us with programming much as Word is helping us to write papers. Okay? So my question is this. We're going to do our first program real quick. Unfortunately, not together. It's okay. You can do it on your own, and there'll be enough time to program together on Monday or on Wednesday and on Friday. In Word, how do you start a new project? How do you start a new document? How do you do that in Word? File new. So, being human beings, we said maybe there should be some consistency. So to create a new project, a new Java project, how do you think I do it? File new. So I'm going to go File, New, and then notice how it's going to open up and ask, well, what do you want to make new? Well, I want to do a project. So, first thing is File, New, Java, Project. All right. Now what that has done is that's created a folder in my workspace. As soon as I make it, called Hello World. Now you can look through all these, you can click next and everything, but pretty much all you need to do is click finish when you create the new project. If I look inside of my Java programs, look, there's a new folder called Hello World. That's my first program. Well, it's shortly going to be my very first program. All right. I kind of like this way. I was a little disappointed you can't do it with me, but I kind of like it. I like you just watching the first time. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a file, and I'm going to add a file called a class. All right. Now here's a definition for you. A class contains methods. And methods are blocks of executable code. Classes, they contain methods. Classes contain groups of methods which are related. Okay, so we're going to create a class. We're going to name our class. Classes contain methods which are related to one another. Methods are blocks of executable code. They perform a very specific task. Now we begin the building blocks for every single program you have. So, classes, groups of methods which are related to one another. Methods contain blocks of executable code which perform a specific task. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say I had a calculator. I could create a class which contains all of my operands. Plus, minus, division, multiplication, modulus, so on and so forth. Right? Each one of those would be a method. Addition would be a method. Subtraction would be a method. Multiplication, whatever we want to call it, those would be all methods. They're all related to one another and belong in that class because they're all operands, right? Each one of the methods then would perform a specific operation, like adding two numbers together and returning the result, or subtracting, finding the difference between two numbers, all right? This is all terminology, kind of bringing you up to speed as I talk. This is going to be in Chapter 9. I want to put out Chapter 9 for you to read here real soon. It's the only time we're going to jump in the book. But that'll help with it. This is where it becomes confusing. Just focus on what I ask you to focus on. If you do that, you'll be fine. Don't get lost in inherentancy and polymorphism and all these other things that they're going to insert into your mind for a first-time look. All right? Just focus on me, and I'll keep your head above the water. All right? So, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to say, I can do File New, Class, or I can right-click, New, Class. All right? Now, identifiers are names of things. Classes have names, methods have names, variables have names. All right? Constants have names. These names are identifiers. All identifiers in Java must start with either an underscore or a letter. All right? All identifiers must start with either an underscore or identifier. The only special character you're allowed to use in an identifier is the underscore. The underscore is not a space. It's not a dash. The underscore is on the top row, just to the left of the plus sign. That's an underscore. just like that. That is the only allowable special character in an identifier. All right? So I'm going to call this hello world, because remember, space is illegal. The next thing I'm going to do to help myself out, I'm going to stub everything out. So I'm going to click on public static void main. And I'm going to click on finish. It's going to create this for me. And I'm going to see my first text. I see my class. My class is called what? Hello world. Anybody want to take a guess at what the name of the method is? Remember, the class contains methods that are related to one another. There was a method there, and you want to take a guess what the name of it is. So public tells us what to do, static tells us not to change it, and you're right on the right track. What's the next thing? Void tells us we're not going to return anything. What's the next thing? Main. That's my identifier. All right? Now notice the curly brackets. Remember, I told you before that curly brackets set off blocks of code that belong to one another. So notice my IDE, if I click on the ending bracket, notice how it lights up what bracket it belongs with. So this curly bracket signifies that the block of code in between belongs to the what method? Right? That ends the main method. That means anything between this curly bracket and this curly bracket belong to this main method. Here, this curly bracket belongs to this curly bracket. So that means that in between those is my class. All my methods go in my class, and all my executable code goes in my method. Not end. There we go. All right. Now, in pseudocode, what I want to do is I want to print hello FSU. All right. So if I were making an algorithm and I told you create an algorithm which simply tells the users hello FSU. All right. By the way, every first program you do ever is always what we call hello world. All right. Every single time. So we're doing a hello world. So after I adjusted to hello FSU. Everybody good with that? All right. So we created our algorithm. You can say start and everything else, but that's all I ask you to do. Just tell the user hello FSU. So you say, oh, well, that's easy. Print, quote, hello FSU, quote. Maybe if you want to put an end in, you're done. So now we're going to translate that. So we've gone through all this to actually create our first program, but now we need to translate our pseudocode. So we're going to say the translation for this is a system.out.print ln parenthesis quote hello FSU. Now, interestingly enough, we can use anything inside of these quotes. These quotes right here, say these are inside, whatever in between this is my literal. I can output anything except for another set of quotes. Those are called delimiters. You can't reuse your delimiters. You have to do this thing called an escape character. Shouldn't have told you that. Never mind. Just don't use quotes inside of quotes. All right? Use a single quote or something like that. Every command we issue in Java, in Python, and just dozens of other languages always ends in a semicolon. Just like every statement ends in a period in the English language, every question ends in a question mark. You remember that every statement in this ends in a semicolon. And we are now done our first program, but now we got to run it. The first time we run our program, we're going to come over and we're going to right click, or we can go to run. Right click here, run as Java application. Now, before I click OK, I got to warn you, fireworks aren't going to go off, bells and whistles and a big hooray isn't going to happen. This is what we fight all the time. You're playing on your phones, you're playing on your Xboxes. We all know PlayStation is the better platform. playing on your PlayStation, and you expect to have these great big glorious programs, but you don't. Not yet. Next summer, yeah. Not yet. You got to learn to crawl first. So when I click on OK, it's going to run. Down here in the bottom is where the output happens. That's where all my interaction happens, is down here in my console. There it is. Hello world. You're now one step closer to taking over the world after you've completed this at home. I'm going to add on to this. I want you to put several output statements into this when you do it for me between tonight and between now and tomorrow night. I want you to put several output statements in there. Just keep repeating system.out.println. Don't copy and paste. You're not good enough for copy and paste yet, right? Got to take your time. The more repetitive you are with doing this, the more it gets in here. It's just new to you right now. Did I look at any notes? It's because I've done it so many times. Do you think when I first started teaching it, I had a set of notes to remind myself? You better bet your ass. Matter of fact, when we get into more complex stuff, I have a program off to the side. I know how I want to deliver, but I have a program off to the side because I dabble in about 6 different languages at any given time, and I messed it up. So I don't like messing up a delivery for first-time students. It's imperative that I don't mess up a delivery, right? So you just got to be repetitive with it. Questions? That's it. Yep. I'll tell you what to do. Like, tell me a story, tell me your favorite thing, or list a bunch of items, whatever. Nope. You're just going to put new lines in. Yep. Now, I would recommend redoing that several times. If you've never, ever programmed before, which I think there's many people who have never programmed, I recommend right-click, delete. You get it done? Right-click, delete, and then do it again. Do it about 10 times. How long is it going to take you to do it 10 times? First time, it's going to take you 10 minutes. Second time, it's going to, if it takes you 5 minutes, and you'll get it all the way down to about a minute. So it's not going to take long. Mm-hmm. I'll put it in an announcement, and I'll put it in the assignment, because I'm going to have an assignment for you. Sound good? I'll attach the video. I have it up on YouTube. I actually have a YouTube channel, and I got to make a new category for this semester, and I'll put them in there. When I code, I typically record everything so that you all can go back, especially with this stuff. I found code, any other lectures are typically wasted on you for me recording, but code, a lot of people go back in and rewatch this. Okay? And it should be very clear. It'll be in 1080p, or it's supposed to be anyways. All right? All right. You all have a wonderful day. And stop streaming.